There's a relentless chase many find themselves in, a constant seeking of that intense, electrifying spark. We call it lust. It's a powerful, primal drive, promising a momentary inferno of sensation, a fleeting sense of aliveness, a temporary distraction from the mundane. But what if that insatiable craving, that endless pursuit of the next thrill, isn't really about the object of your desire at all? What if, beneath the surface of that urgent hunger, lies something far deeper, far more unsettling? What if, in many cases, you confuse lust with a profound emptiness? Today, we're not here to judge the natural human experience of sexual desire. Instead, we're going to explore a critical distinction, the difference between healthy desire and a compulsive seeking that often serves to mask an inner void. We'll delve into why this confusion happens, the nature of that underlying emptiness, and most importantly, how to break free from a cycle that promises fulfillment, but often delivers only a temporary reprieve, leaving the core emptiness untouched, perhaps even amplified. This is about moving beyond a life driven by fleeting fixes and towards one of authentic, sustainable contentment. First, let's be clear about what we mean by lust in this context. It's often characterized by an intense, urgent, and predominantly physical or sensation-focused desire. It can be objectifying, centered more on the idea of a person or the thrill of conquest than on genuine connection or deep knowing. While it can be a component of attraction, when lust becomes the dominant force or a compulsive pattern used to avoid or fill something else, it veers into problematic territory. It's different from love, which seeks connection, understanding, and mutual well-being. It's different from healthy passion, which can energize and create, rather than merely consume and deplete. Lust, in its compulsive form, is often a symptom, a loud signal from a neglected part of your inner world. So what is this profound emptiness that lust so often tries to paper over? It's a deeply human experience, though it manifests in many ways. It can feel like a persistent lack of meaning or purpose in your life, a gnawing loneliness even when surrounded by people, a chronic boredom or restlessness, a low sense of self-worth, or simply a hollow ache, a void where vibrant engagement with life should be. It's that disquieting sense that something fundamental is missing. The roots of this emptiness can be varied and complex. Perhaps it stems from a life lived without a clear mission or a guiding purpose, leaving you adrift in a sea of trivialities and distractions. When a man, in particular, isn't anchored to a compelling vision for his life, an internal vacuum can form, making him susceptible to seeking external validation or intense experiences to feel a semblance of vitality. Or this emptiness might be the shadow of unacknowledged responsibilities, a refusal to confront difficult truths about oneself or one's circumstances. It's easier to chase a fleeting high than to do the hard work of setting your internal house in order, of confronting the chaos within. From another perspective, this void can be seen as a sign of operating from a lower state of awareness, where the ego, with its insatiable needs and deficiencies, dominates. It's a disconnect from your authentic self, your core values, and that inherent sense of inner peace that isn't dependent on external conditions. When this profound emptiness is present, lust can deceptively offer itself as a quick and potent solution. The thrill of pursuit, the novelty of a new encounter, the intensity of physical sensation, these can momentarily flood the system with dopamine and adrenaline, effectively numbing the underlying ache of the void. For a brief period, the emptiness seems to disappear, replaced by a charged, albeit superficial, sense of aliveness or connection. Lust can offer an illusion of power, of being desired, of being significant, especially if self-worth is low. Each new conquest or successful flirtation can provide a temporary ego boost, a fleeting validation that one is, in fact, worthy or attractive. But this is where the insidious cycle begins. The high from a lust-driven encounter is, by its nature, short-lived. The neurochemical rush fades, the novelty wears off, and when it does, the original emptiness returns, often with a vengeance, sometimes accompanied by feelings of regret, shame, or even greater hollowness. The ego, once again feeling its deficiency, then screams for another fix. This creates a compulsive loop. Emptiness leads to the pursuit of lust, which provides a temporary escape, followed by a return to, or even a deepening of, the emptiness, which then fuels a more desperate pursuit. It's an energetically draining and ultimately unfulfilling pattern, a constant outward seeking that never addresses the inward lack. You are, in essence, trying to fill a bottomless pit with experiences that can never truly satisfy its depth. So how do we break this cycle? How do we move from confusing lust with a solution for emptiness to actually addressing the emptiness itself and finding genuine fulfillment? The path, as always, involves courage, honesty, and a willingness to turn inward. First, one must acknowledge the emptiness. This is the crucial first step. It means having the courage to sit with that discomfort, that void, without immediately reaching for the familiar distraction of lust or any other numbing behavior. It's about facing the chaos within, as some would say, understanding its contours and listening to what it's trying to tell you. What is this emptiness truly asking for? Second, cultivate self-worth from within. A significant driver for using lust to fill a void is the search for external validation. If you don't feel inherently worthy, you'll constantly seek proof of your value in the eyes or actions of others. The antidote is to build your self-esteem on a foundation of your own values, your integrity, your character, and your actions aligned with those principles. When you know your worth, you are less likely to use others or allow yourself to be used in a desperate bid for a fleeting sense of significance. You stop needing the attention that lustful pursuits might temporarily provide. Third, and this is paramount, discover and commit to a purpose or mission larger than your immediate gratification. A life driven by a clear, meaningful purpose is inherently fulfilling. When you are engaged in work that matters to you, when you are striving towards goals that align with your deepest values, when you are contributing something of worth to the world, the emptiness naturally begins to recede. It's filled not with fleeting pleasures, but with the substantial satisfaction of contribution, growth, and meaning. This purpose doesn't have to be grandiose. It just has to be yours and genuinely engaging. Fourth, consider elevating your internal state, your predominant level of consciousness. This involves a conscious choice to move away from the energy fields of craving, desire, and fear that fuel compulsive lust, and towards energies of courage, acceptance, reason, love, and service. This isn't about suppressing desire, but about transcending the neediness and deficiency that often underpins it. It's about finding a baseline of peace and contentment within, so that your interactions with others come from a place of fullness, not lack. This often involves practices of letting go of attachments of outcomes, of the need for external validation. Finally, seek genuine connection, not just sensation. True intimacy, whether in friendships or romantic partnerships, is built on mutual respect, shared values, emotional vulnerability, and a genuine interest in the other person as a whole being, not just an object of desire. These deeper connections provide a sense of belonging and fulfillment that lust alone can never offer. This requires being present, being authentic, and being willing to give as well as receive. The path to overcoming the confusion between lust and emptiness is not about denying your sexuality or becoming an ascetic. It's about elevating its expression, integrating it into a life of greater meaning, purpose, and authentic connection. It's about understanding that no amount of external chasing can fill an internal void. That work, the work of confronting emptiness, building self-worth, and aligning with purpose, is an inside job. When you stop running from the emptiness and instead turn to understand and address its roots, you begin a journey towards a kind of fulfillment that is not dependent on the next thrill or the next conquest. You start to build a solid core of contentment, a sense of wholeness that radiates from within. And from that place of inner fullness, your desires and your relationships can transform, becoming expressions of joy and connection rather than desperate attempts to fill a void. It requires honesty to admit if this pattern resonates with you. It requires courage to face the emptiness, but the reward is a life lived with more depth, more meaning, and a far more profound and lasting sense of peace and satisfaction than lust could ever promise. The choice, as always, is yours.